I'm Carll Cneut, illustrator, mainly of picture books. I live in the beautiful city of Ghent in Flanders, Belgium, and this is my brand new studio where I spend about 10 hours a day, most days of the week, so welcome. I have been an illustrator for just over 20 years now. I published 26 books, mainly picture books, some books for adults. Most of them are translated in a number of languages, also some strange languages which are not readable for me, like Georgian. And this is actually the English translation of Carll Cneut, written by Brigitte Minne. The English title is Witchfairy and was published by Book Island, and I'm very excited about it. I received quite a lot of stories. I handle 3 criteria actually. First of all, the story has to be well written and it has to be a good story. Those are very, very important. And then I have to feel right away or have some kind of vision or see maybe even a finished image or just an ambience of the book of how it's very intuitive. I just need to feel something. And then the third one is quite important, and it's that I talk with the author and I have to feel that the author has the ability to let me have his story and do whatever I need to do with it. When the author has to have some kind of confidence in me and give me my freedom. If I don't feel that, even if it's the best story in the world, I know that I'm heading for trouble. So those are the 3 criteria I really, really stick to. It all started in my childhood. I lived on a farm in the middle of nowhere, and then suddenly pasta spaghetti was introduced in Belgium, and there was like 1 point on the box of spaghetti, and then if you collected 36 points you could send them off, and then they send you like a small I don't know how you call it. It was like a nice envelope with 4 reproductions of paintings in it by one painter, and then you had to buy a book and then you had to stick them in, you know the system. And the first one which was sent to me was by Ensor, and that was, for me, that was a real eye-opener, because until that day, I think art and paintings were like vases and landscapes and fruit, stuff like that. There was little story in those paintings, and then by discovering James Ensor, and especially this painting, it's like skeletons forming, that like changed my whole view on art and images. And then from there I kind of realized that I probably would like to do something in that direction, having something to do with images. But the plan was that I was going to become a lawyer, so I had to convince my mom that I needed to go to an art school. So in the end she agreed, and I studied here in Ghent, graphic design, and during my studies I discovered so many things, because I didn't know really much on all those items. And I got heavily influenced also nowadays still by James Ensor, also of course by Bruegel, Bosch, but also by a contemporary painter like Adrian Gini, a Romanian painter. My favorite painting in this world is Pie Fight Study No. 3 by him. Those are things that keep me awake, alert, that change my view on the way I work or on my technique. I learn a lot from painters. The role of an illustrator should be, first of all, trying to make an attractive book. But for me, much more important is the being a storyteller. I always believe that a good picture book has actually 3 stories in it. It's the written story, and then it's the story told in images. And I also always try to leave some space between the written word and the images so that there's room for interpretation. So the final version is the 3rd version by the reader, who uses his imagination to connect the image and the text together. So in my ideal world, as many books, as many versions of the same story. But I also take the part of storytelling very serious and like an active part of my job. For instance, like this book, for the writer, was a story about a boy and a girl, and he forgot to mention in the text that they were actually human, so that left me the freedom to make 2 elephants of it, and now it's a story about 2 elephants meeting each other, and it makes the whole book and the whole story much broader. And one of my credo, I don't know if you say it in English, one of my credos is like, the freedom of the illustrator is everything that is not written in the text. When I accept a project or a book to illustrate, I usually walk around with the story in my mind for like a number of months and trying to develop the atmosphere, the whole thing in my head before sitting down in front of the white paper. But once I get to the point of sitting down, then usually I get into some kind of panic, and I don't quite know what to do. So through the years I learned that I should stay put there and try to do things on the paper and have confidence that one day everything will click together and I will know how I should do this. So once I get to that point, I start drawing the characters and scenes and the whole story the way I want to tell it. And that usually takes a number of weeks or even a month or 2 months. And once that's done, then I get to the stage of making a dummy and trying to figure out where the text should go and how the book works and if it works, and maybe change places or adjust illustrations, because I always believe that a book is also something, it's an object that has a function and has to function. So, and once I get to that, I can go and start painting. It's a very painstaking and a very time-consuming process. I'm using this pencil, which is like a very ordinary one, 0.5 millimeter. My brush is a very, very small one. It's size 00. It's more or less the smallest brush you can find. And I'm painting usually I'm painting with this brand. It's an English brand, by the way. Dale & Rowney, the Acryla series, which is like a heavy body acrylics, which means that it's like kind of denser, more dense than most acrylics, and it suits very well to the way I work, because I work in many layers. So this is ideal for me. If I need it more transparent, I can also use a medium. I work in layers because I always work from dark to light, which is the opposite of what most people do. It's something I once picked up from Van Dyck, who had an Italian period, and apparently in that Italian period he painted from dark to light. So I kind of experimented with it, and the way I work now is the result of that. It means like if I have to paint something the hat of Witchfairy, I will paint it first in a dark brown, and then the next layer will be like a dark red on it, and then goes a more shiny red, and then I go to a dark pink, and then from a dark pink to a lighter pink, and then even lighter pink, so you get many layers and textures in the hat. It's very time consuming, but it's the only way I can be happy with my work. In Witchfairy, which is a story about Rosemary, a little fairy who sometimes wants to be a witch from time to time. But for me it was obvious that Rosemary, fairy, she should have a pink dress and a pink hat. And once that is decided, and there was no doubt about that, I tried to find colors who match or clash with the pink of the dress. So as long as she is in the fairy world, it's mainly oranges, reds, not white, but some kind of off-white. When she's in the forest of the witches, it's more like hue blues, greyish, also greenish. So also always colors who match or clash with the pink, and maybe it's a limited palette. It has many tones, but I don't use many colors. So they always stay in like some kind of one universe of color. My biggest fear when I'm making a book is not doing my utter best. I always want to give my very best. So that's one fear, and I always, in the beginning, I always get into a panic that I'm not able to do this project, or that I've kind of lost it. I don't know, there's always this panic, internal panic. And then once I start work on the book and doing my very best, and it takes a long time to finish a book. I usually work like more or less 1 year on a book. So during 1 year you can grow a lot and you can evolve a lot, and by the time you get to the end of the book and the last illustrations, I sometimes feel that I've grown during this project. So it's hard to not show the growth you made in the ultimate images, because they might be different from the first ones you made. So and then you kind of worry that maybe you should start from the beginning again. So, but that's a no-go, of course, because the publishers wouldn't be happy. So you keep on growing and pushing yourself, and then you have to accept at one point that this is the result, and you've done your very best, and then you promise yourself that in the next book that will be the perfect book. But that's the whole story starts again. You start on the book, and then by the end you've grown, and so I think it's a continuing process. I think the moments of greatest satisfaction in my career was the first time I won a prize, because you can never top that. And also it gave me some reassurance that maybe I belong in this job, that I was made to do this. And another very important moment was I had this big exhibition over here in Belgium, and tens of thousands of people unexpectedly came to see it, and I spent most of my time on the exhibition, so I met a lot of the public, which was strange but also an unbelievable experience, and which was also very gratifying. And of course every contact with the public during readings or getting messages, it's very satisfying to have this reason why you do this job, and then seeing or hearing that actually people appreciate what you do. I travel a lot for my work. I think 1/3 of my time, or almost half of my time, I'm on the road. I do several things. I go on the road to do book signings or book presentations. I do a lot of workshops with children. I also do master classes. I just recently did one in Italy. I'm going to travel to an exhibition of mine in France in the next days. I've been pretty much all over the place. My objectives for the future are keep on doing what I do now and hopefully being as happy with what I do now as the last 20 years. I'm working on a book with Toon Telhen right now. He's a Dutch writer. I have some collaborations in the future with other writers, and I'm also working for a few art galleries now. It's just something I'm exploring. My advice for young illustrators would be that always stay true to yourself, be authentic, always be nice, and work very hard.